I practiced like Grand Beatbox Battle Champion Colaps for an entire month, and let me tell you, it wasn't easy. Let's start by answering the question, who is Colaps?
Nah, that's not me.
World champion beatboxer with a world-renowned mustache, Colaps has spent the last 13 years honing his skills as a beatboxer, acquiring titles such as GBB Solo Champion, GBB 7 to Smoke Champion, French Champion, La Cup Worldwide Champion, and 1-1 International Champion. Aside from being an accomplished beatboxer, Colaps has also amassed a very large social media following and is currently posting some of the most original beatboxing content in the scene. In his beatbox journey video, Colaps shows clips from where he began as a beatboxer and where he is now. Seeing how much he's improved over the years is absolutely mind-blowing. So in order to find out how he did it, I took to Instagram, slid into his DMs, and asked him for an interview. The goal of this interview was to find out what he did on a day-to-day basis to develop the beatboxing skills that he has today. And once I secured the bag, it was time to curate the perfect set of questions to help me get into the mind of Colaps. Logically, there was only one question I could start with. What does a normal day of beatboxing practice look like?
You have to know I don't beatbox every day.
I had to get more specific. How did you practice every day leading up to GBB?
Yeah, I just did 1 hour training in the morning, 1 hour training in the afternoon. During these trainings, I was like doing all my rounds. And if I make a mistake during the round, I have to do it again, you know?
Yes.
So it has to be perfect
Yep.
until I move on to the next round. But the more you do it, the easier it gets and the less you make mistakes.
Boom, and with that, we got the main structure of our daily routine. 2 1-hour sessions, one in the morning and one in the evening. Now, with songs being such a big part of his training, I needed to find out how he developed them. So what does your process look like for developing routines?
So first you have to gather all the sounds that works on a stage and on the mic. The aim is to have as much sounds inside this kit as possible. So you want to have really high sounds or really low sounds, big bass, everything. So it is a complete kit, and from there you start to build. So yeah, I would usually always start creating my routines with the drop. And you know, I'm not even thinking too much about like the full round, you know. I was more like, okay, I have a drop, but I don't know right now how to do the following of this drop or the intro. So, you know, I'm not thinking about that. I'm just moving on and creating new things because I want to have as much ideas as possible. And I'm able to realize, oh shit, this drop works with this other drop. So I'm able to connect this just like a puzzle. And I can't reuse anything else that I've used before because it will be too similar. So I really needed for each of my rounds to have a specific sound or a specific combo or technique that is really different from everything else. During this process, I realized that some of the sounds that were in the kit, I told you before, I realized, oh shit, this sound won't work on the microphone. I have to get rid of it. So you have to try a lot of things on the mic as well.
How much time do you typically spend on mic versus off mic, like just acoustically?
I mostly beatbox without a mic, and I will only beatbox on a microphone if I know I have a battle soon, because I have to test the new techniques, the new ideas on the mic in order to not try this for the first time on stage when I'm battling or doing an elimination or something. Then if I want to enter a battle, 1 time per week, but maybe 1 hour or 2 hours session.
He talks about trying out new sounds on mic and that we should always be trying to add new ones to our sound kit. So let's find out how he learns new sounds. If you're trying to learn a new beatbox sound, like fresh, how do you go about like doing that, practicing it, trying to get it to a sound that you can use within your routines and repertoire?
So depending the sound, either you're gonna have to train the muscles or either you're gonna have to be more precise about the sweet spot that activate the specific sound. From there, you have to spam the sound as much as you can. And with the time, I practiced more until it's really stable. And from that point, I started to use it inside my patterns, combos. That's how I learn sounds, I guess.
So that covers learning new sounds, but how do you go about refining and perfecting like a specific sound? So like in your instance, you were really well known for your spit snare. So like how did you go bringing that from what a lot of us know as, you know, just a spit snare to like, boom, this is mine?
The first spit snare I had was really bad. And I started to watch some videos about the new type of spit snares beatboxers I was seeing, such as Footbox G. So it's really hard process because you have to unlearn the first way you were doing the sound, and this is really annoying. For me, it took maybe 6 months in order to change the way I was doing my spit snares. Now I'm known for this sound, and it was one of my shittiest sound back in the days.
The reason why I asked this question is because I remember, you remember Lollet, right?
Yeah.
He told me that when you practiced your spit snare, you'd wake up in the morning, roll out of bed, and do it for 30 minutes straight.
Yeah, that's what I was doing. But the truth is, I was doing it while I was taking my shower, so less than that, not 30 minutes. Like I was doing it until it burns, and yeah, the process was really painful.
And that is exactly what I'm gonna do. My second daily task is gonna be to train the Colaps spit snare until failure at least once per day.
Maybe you can try to rest a little bit for the spit snare, because if you do it every day, I don't know if you're gonna be able to to keep up with the pain. I don't know.
No, this is dedication every day. Every day for a month. Dedication. And along with that, there are also 2 more things that I will have to do every day for the whole month. First, I must beatbox along with music every day. Now, I'm doing this because when I asked Colaps if he beatbox with a metronome, he said,
I never use a metronome. I used to do, but it's something that I don't really do anymore. What I prefer to do is beatbox on song, because it has the tempo and you can follow along, and you can create whatever you want. Some crazy breaks, some crazy build-ups following the song, and etc.
My final task is to watch at least 1 beatboxing video every day. This will help keep me motivated, which is important because Colaps said,
sometimes I force myself to beatbox, but I feel like it's not as productive as it would be if I were motivated by something. So if I want to get this motivation, the things I would do are probably watching some YouTube videos about, battling or beatboxers that really inspire me, and it will start to build a feeling inside me of wanting to battle, And this is where I'm like, shit, I have to train because this guy is crazy, and I'm scared he's gonna destroy me if we battle. So this is the kind of things I like to watch to get motivation.
This motivation is going to be key since I am forcing myself to follow a strict daily beatboxing routine. Speaking of that routine, now that all my questions have been answered, let me break down what I'm going to be doing for the next month in more detail. So, throughout the next month, there are a few objectives that I would like to accomplish. First, I would like to learn the nasal bass, the kiss hi-hat, and the Colaps spit snare. For reference, they sound like... Second, I would like to make significant progress in developing my music. Since this training focuses a lot on developing music, I'm hoping that I can rework several of my tracks to a point where I'm happy with them by the end of the month. Now, in order to accomplish these 2 objectives, I'm going to be following a strict daily beatboxing routine. At a high level, every day will consist of 2 one-hour beatboxing sessions, watching at least 1 beatboxing video, listening to and beatboxing along with music, and practicing the Colaps spit snare until muscle failure at least once. For the first 1-hour session, I'm going to start with 10 minutes of sound repetition and 5 minutes of vocal and bass warm-ups. Since Colaps is big on the basics, this is a good time for me to take 10 different sounds and do each for a minute straight, fine-tuning them as I go. To finish warming up, I will do 15 minutes of freestyling, trying to incorporate the nasal bass, kiss hi-hat, and Colaps spit snare when I can. For the final 30 minutes, I plan to work on developing my music by performing each of my tracks at least once, using any leftover time to fine-tune or rework them. Now, for the second 1-hour session, I will only freestyle for 10 minutes, and I will spend the remaining 50 minutes practicing and developing my songs. During both of those sessions, if I make a mistake while performing any of my songs, I plan to follow Colaps's advice to immediately stop and restart. That way I don't continue to practice the same mistakes and overall lessen the chance of them happening during a live performance. And with that, here's the finalized beatboxing routine that I will follow every day for the next month. But a month is a long time.
It is. You have to be dedicated.
So I can't really do the daily routine today since I've yet to learn how to do the Colaps spit snare, and well, I don't remember how to perform most of my songs. So for day 1, I'm going to focus on learning how to do the Colaps spit snare, developing my sound kit, relearning my songs, and listening to like 3+ years of sound recordings to see if any of them are worth expanding on. So I'm going to go ahead and watch the tutorial he did on Maddox's YouTube channel so I can learn it. Shout out to Maddox.
Man of culture.
So the way I learned the spit snare, so I noticed Footbox was not using any air
Footbox is a
on
really good
those
snare
parts of
too.
the mouth.
Yeah.
So it was really hard at first to not fill those parts with air. So I was putting my fingers like this to avoid those kind of stuff.
Okay. Is it more like a kissing position? Or?
Both are at the same level. So yeah, you can start from a kissing position, I would say. Like.
So it seems like I'm gonna have to avoid using air pockets at all to make this sound, which is very weird considering I've been using air pockets for the last 10 years or so to do this sound. So it's gonna be very difficult to unlearn that. And as he's kind of already told me in the interview, I gotta build the muscles up, which I've already felt just in trying it, like trying to stretch my face out like that to do the sound. But I think I got the idea of how to do it. Okay, so when Colaps was talking about how he goes about developing his routines, he mentioned that he breaks up his sounds into a sound kit, classifying them in lows and highs, so that when he's developing a routine, he can pull from something if, you know, there's an element missing. So although I already kind of like classify them in my head, I'm gonna go ahead and try to write out everything I can remember just so I can help you guys visualize that. So I'm going to go through all the old sound recordings that I've been accumulating throughout the years on my current phone and my previous phone to see if there's any concepts that are worth expanding on. And when I pass the recordings of my songs, I'm going to reteach them to myself. Sometimes you find some good ones.
5 minutes later.
Sometimes. Freestyling is such an art, and being able to do that non-stop for a long period of time, that takes skill. Fuck. Stay hydrated. Well, it is now 11 o'clock at night, and we are just starting our second hour for the day. I didn't do shit. So when it comes to practicing my songs, I'm going to start with 3 that are closest to being completed in terms of like their total structure, so that I can like kind of like knock 3 off the list and focus on other ones. And then like throughout the time of like trying to fix the other ones, I can just keep practicing the ones that are done. Because I actually just thought it'd be really cool kind of like a transition for the second drop of louder. So it's going to be like... That's where I need to think of the drop. What the fuck? Fuck. I do like it a lot though. So week 1, I feel like my jaw is going to fall off. Probably just because I'm not used to beatboxing for 2 hours a day, which it's not only just 2 hours a day because then I beatbox throughout the day because I'm in a beatboxing mood. It's also very difficult to fit in 2 hours a day, especially on days where like I have to work. So it's like a lot of time is taken up where I end up beatboxing at midnight, as you saw on one of the days this week. But I will say there are some positive things that have come out of week 1, like I've made progress on my nasal bass. I've made a little bit of progress on my collapse snare. And I've remembered a lot of my routines. But the biggest problem here is I listened through a lot of them and I did not like a lot of their structures. So I'm gonna have to rework a lot of them, which is unfortunate. For example, yesterday, I just came up with the second portion of the louder drop. really, I think the big benefit here so far has just been going over my material again, because there was such a lull period in sound recordings. When I was looking at my sound recordings, I didn't do a lot for a while, and ever since I've started this challenge, even for the first week, I have so many recordings. But yeah, no, that's about my weekly update. Let's get ready for week 2. I didn't record it earlier, but I figured out a little bit for Make Room. Fuck it up. So, hopefully during this session, I can figure out a better transition between drop 1 and the hour number 2 at 11 o'clock at night, and by the time I'm done doing hour number 2, I will not be tired anymore and be too wired to go to sleep. I just keep getting creatively stuck with my drops right now. Practice but no progress. Yay! Welcome back to another 11 o'clock session with your boy TylaDubya. I need to really get better at doing the second hour sooner in the day so I don't hate myself at 11 o'clock at night. I think Wild West is done, so that was a good night spent figuring that out, finalizing it. That bass, what the fuck is that? Okay, so week 2 recap. So I haven't gotten any better at doing my second hour session any earlier. It is typically midnight when I get around to doing it. Oh, my sleep schedule's absolute ass. I'm even filming this at 10 o'clock at night, and I'll be doing my second hour right after this, which is insane. And so is the fact that my jaw pain hasn't gotten any better like I thought it would after week 1. But enough of the negatives. We can talk about the good things now. So my nasal bass has gotten better, but only when my nose is clear. And I also like to think I've made progress on the kiss hi-hat and the collapse spit snare. So, along with making progress on those sounds, I've also made progress on a lot of my routines. Like, at a high level, I've made progress on crashing down, I've made progress on louder, make room, green meter was essentially done, Wild West is now done, Burn I have revisited because I actually really like it, would love to revamp it, and I actually kind of came up with a cool part for Puppeteer too as like a secondary part for the first drop. But yeah. I mean, like, I'm not focusing on that one right now, but still, I've come up with some cool shit. We're gonna keep cruising. We're gonna keep hitting our daily schedule. And I'm just hoping that by the end of this next week, my jaw is not falling off and that I'm not making a very sad weekly update next week. No days off. Hey Cass, Cassandra, beautiful. I want your opinion. You better make Like, how smooth is that back into like
It's
the main
really
song?
good.
Like, oh. Hi, it's me again, Tyler, beatboxing at 11:15 at night for our second hour. This is why shooting so late at night is such a problem and practicing late at night, because I start super tired, and then once I even remotely get into it, I'm awake and I don't sleep. Week 3, we're done with that. Was it good? Yes. Was it still hard? Yes. Is my jaw feeling better? Shockingly, yes. So yeah, I was able to make progress this week, mainly on my song Make Room. I was able to come up with the complete second drop for that, and actually kind of like the entire intro. But the drop I came up with, I'm actually like super happy with. The reason why I'm so hype on it is because it uses the melody as well as other elements from the first drop in it, so it creates like a nice cohesion between them. Aside from making progress on my tracks, I will actually say this is probably the first week where I've noticed like significant progress in my Colaps spit snare, and like I will say, doing that every day, doing the Colaps spit snare until failure, has actually helped me progress in doing that sound. The nasal bass, on the other hand, it's allergy season, so I already can't breathe through my nose. So every time I go, I just ingest a lot of snot. I will say though, at this point, I do have the idea behind it and the concept of it, and I can get it to a decent state when my nose is clear enough. But yeah, so here's the week 4. Stay hydrated, my friends. For this week, let's go ahead and speed it up a bit. If I'm gonna be honest, I don't have a whole lot to update regarding this past week. Basically, the only song I made progress on this week was Make Room, and all I really did was come up with a small piece of the melody for the intro. I feel like part of this lack of motivation was because at the beginning of the week, I made a determination that I wasn't going to be ready in time to participate in an upcoming beatbox battle. And that was a strong motivator for me, as I know that Colaps has mentioned that it is for him as well. And once that drive to be battle ready was gone, I realized that most of the progress I made on my music was compressed down to 1:30 rounds. So although during this challenge, I successfully came up with 2 separate drops each for Wild West, Make Room, Louder, Dream Eater, and Crashing Down, they were all squished together, and the reality is for the final versions of these songs, I want them to be all separated and paced better. So this past week, I shifted my focus and I just tried to create intros and melodies for these tracks, but I just hit a wall creatively. But ignoring the lack of progress in this last week, I feel like throughout the entire challenge, I've accomplished a lot regarding my music. And considering a month ago that I didn't remember the structure to any of them, and even if I did, I wouldn't have been able to physically perform them, I'm happy with the progress that I've made. Aside from my music, I also feel like my Colaps spit snare and Kiss hi-hat have come a long way. On the other hand, doubling down what I said in the last weekly review, the nasal bass is a hard one for me because of allergies, and honestly, I don't think it's ever going to become a commonly used sound in my kit because I always have allergies. Regardless, here's what it sounds like after a month. Have I perfected any of these sounds? No. Have I made progress on all of them? Yes. Speaking of progress, I feel like the one area I've improved the most in is my ability to freestyle. After not beatboxing consistently for some time, I kind of lost my ability to freestyle fluidly. But after freestyling twice a day, every day for an entire month, I finally hit my goal of being able to freestyle for 15 minutes straight without making mistakes. Now that I have confirmed that training like world champion beatboxer Colaps for an entire month has helped me drastically improve, here are my final thoughts on the daily schedule and the challenge itself. Overall, this challenge was hard. Now don't get me wrong, it was super helpful, but that daily routine, not sustainable for me. But that's mainly because I found it difficult to block out 2 dedicated hours every day for just beatboxing. Like, there were so many times throughout the challenge where I found myself trying to squeeze in the second 1-hour session right before midnight, which wasn't very fun. So I think moving forward, I'm going to try to stick to around like 30 minutes of dedicated beatboxing time every day, which hopefully will be enough to get me into the beatboxing mindset so that I can continue to freestyle and come up with ideas throughout the rest of the day. I feel like freestyling every day for this past month has drastically increased my proficiency as a beatboxer, and I know that continuing to do it will just continue to help me unlock new sounds and patterns to use in my music. While on the subject of my music, since I only plan to beatbox for around 30 minutes a day, that's not going to be enough time to do all of my songs every day, so the plan is to perform each of my tracks at least once per week. Oh, and when practicing my music, I do plan to continue Colaps' idea of stopping and restarting as soon as I make a mistake. It's something I've always done throughout my life, but I wanted to mention it again since the concept has always proven beneficial whenever I have needed to memorize something. 2 other concepts that were beneficial throughout this past month were sound repetition and warm-ups. Prior to this challenge, these were things that I honestly neglected, but after doing them every day, it became apparent to how valuable they were. Not only do I think that they helped clean up some of my basics, but they also kept my bases warm and ready to use throughout the day. Now, I'm not sure that I will dedicate 15 minutes every day to sound repetitions and warm-ups, but I'd like to do them at least a couple times a week. Though, the one sound that I will continue to train until failure almost every day if I can is the Colaps spit snare. I found that training that snare until muscle failure every day didn't hurt as much as he said it might. Like, it would burn, but that feeling would go away shortly after. And since I really want the sound and this style of training has helped me make significant progress, I'm going to do it as much as I can. And the last 2 elements of the daily schedule that I will continue to do, even if it's not every day, is beatboxing with music and watching beatboxing videos. These are things that I have always done throughout my beatboxing journey and that I will continue to do because they help inspire me and drive innovation. Big up to Colaps for allowing me to interview him so that I could go on this journey and show you guys a little bit of what it takes to become the Grand Beatbox Battle Champion. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. This was a really big project of mine, and I would like to try out some more challenges, so comment down below with what challenge you want to see me try next. Peace.